So Bryan, thanks for joining me on the Market Pulse. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, just letting you all know out there, it's Bryan Jones from Real Broker here in Las Vegas. Known you a long time.
It's been a while. I got licensed in 98, but moved here in 2002, and I think that's shortly at that.
I met you in 2004. I'll never forget. Highlight of our relationship and friendship was when you showed up with the boombox on your shoulder at my 40th birthday.
It was a good time.
With the afro and the outfit. So it's been a pleasure knowing you for a long time. Thanks for joining today. I respect you a lot in the business, and I know you manage a lot of agents here in town. What the idea of this little segment is to share with agents out there that are looking at the market conditions. Yes, we're going to put the stats out. The stats have been released, but ultimately, what are the agents feeling that you're working with? What are you telling agents that work at your company? How are they driving business? What are you seeing out there?
Well, the biggest thing when agents come to me and they're in a tough position or business is slow is, I tell them there's always challenges. Every year since I've been in business, there's been a challenge. You name the year, I'll tell you the challenge. But you can get through it. You got to kind of not listen to the noise and really focus on your own business, put systems in place, and be consistent. A lot of agents, they're not consistent. They start something and they hear all this ways to get business from social media or coaches, and they try everything. You can't do everything. I tell agents, you got to do the 90-day rule. What you do today is going to pay off in 90 days. If you're not doing something today, it's going to hurt you in 90 days. So really, you got to pick 3 things you're willing to commit to and stay consistent, do them for 90 days. And after 90 days, if 2 things are working and 1 isn't, swap that out with another idea and just get a system in place. But really, you got to be consistent, and you're going to be amazed at how much business will start coming in 3 to 4 months.
And those 3 things can be as simple as making phone calls, door knocking, doing open houses. I think sometimes these agents out there today that I've met, and some work for me and I know well, they're always looking for the new widget. They always think there's this new tool. And so when you say, how's business? They go, oh, great. I just started with yada, yada service. And you're like, that shows me that you're not doing the 90-day rule. You're flipping every week into something new, and you're not giving anything you're trying enough of a chance to work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as far as market conditions go, in June, we're going to close around 2,600 homes. This year, it's been slow. I mean, we started in the low 2,000s early in the year. I think we got close to 3,000, and now we're trending lower. My complaint is there's just not a volume. I mean, we have some homes for sale, and buyers and sellers are transacting well. From the brokerage perspective, there's just not a lot of units out there for how many realtors we have.
It's a challenge. There's a lot of agents and a limited number of sales, but if you look at the agents that are successful, again, year after year, it's systems. So there's business out there. There's always somebody buying, always somebody selling. It's just, you got to work a little bit harder to get that business.
We walked in together downstairs. There's a class of orientation of agents joining. That's one thing I always love to see, is about 100 and so down there that are starting in 2025. Can you imagine? After all the news and all the different things, they're still buying into the dream, and some will be successful. Some will be successful. And it's great to see that there's still people with the dream that you and I had years ago. You've been doing it longer. What are you telling new agents that's just starting out today?
You got to know the market. You got to know your stats, but don't listen to all the noise. Talk to your broker, get a game plan going, and really just stay consistent. I got to repeat that again, that's going to help them succeed and get off to a good start.
They got to sell the first one, right? They need credibility.
Right.
So the first time, you should own it, right? You should almost own it and say, hey, look, I'm brand new, but I tell you what, I'm going to work hard. And when I don't know the answer, I'm going to ask either my team lead or my broker or my sales manager. You're not only going to have me, a hungry young agent that's trying to do this, you're also going to have my mentor and my managers. And just own the fact that you're new at this. Don't fake it, because I don't think that's fair to the consumer. But for a first-time home buyer, what a great connection to have a brand new agent, and they're out there together trying to figure this out. We're going to find the best house and we're going to get the best deal. I love that there's a passion still for the business, and it's out there, and there's still a business for us. I seem to believe still that the realtor is in the center of every transaction. I know there's been moves for folks to be able to buy homes directly and portals and all these machines, but in the end, I don't care who you are. Every buyer that goes into houses looks at you or me or that brand new agent and says, what do you think? They never want to do this alone. And that makes me feel so good about our future in this business as realtors.
Yeah, I'm sure the technology and what's out there is going to impact a few sales, but I don't think agents are going away. And it's exciting to see all the agents down there, because I remember when I was new, you have that energy, that drive, and leverage your brokerage and go off of the brokerage sales as kind of some history.
So we're seeing more houses hit the market. Inventory is expanding. The median home prices dropped just a little bit. So it shows you the market's softening, but it seems to be a good market if you think about it, because if a seller's willing to listen to the agent, and price their house right, it will still sell. If a buyer is looking for a home, there's more to choose from. They're probably going to get the buyer broker fee paid by the seller, and they're going to get their concessions paid for a loan buy down or whatever. So for me, even though like the market's a tad soft, some would say, it's a perfect place to transact because both sides are able to do business.
Definitely. There's challenges for sellers and challenges for buyers. I look back, I think we had a similar market in the fourth quarter of 2022. We had similar amount of inventory, similar rates, and similar number of closings. And for agents that have been in business over 3 years, you survive that. And really, it's just, you got to have more direct conversations with the sellers and the buyers. If you're a buyer, yeah, they're going to be frustrated and they're going to be super picky because they feel like they're buying a home at a super high rate. So they're going to want the best neighborhood, the best price, and the best condition, and they're going to ask for concessions.
Yeah, you touched on something, because remember when the rates went super low, people bought anything.
Right.
So now people got houses they hate, but they love the rate because it was such a frenzy. They're like, oh my God, there's free loans, free low payments. Hurry, they'll give us this house, sign. So now it's the opposite. Now it's like, well, rates suck, so I better love this house. I'm going to pay all this money. And I think it makes buyers take longer because what's the rush? I mean, they don't love 7%. And if they don't love this house today, they got another month to wait for 10 more to hit in that same market. So it's a challenge for agents to try to say like, why do it now? Because the waiting factor has always been something we've had to deal with. So there's always an uncle saying houses are going to crash. Somebody's giving them advice. So what do you tell an agent that's trying to guide a buyer to say why they should buy a home in Las Vegas today versus waiting if they can afford one?
I really think it comes down to you got to have a buyer consultation and find out what are the needs of the buyer. If they're just trying to find that great deal, that's going to be different than somebody that is moving here for a job and relocating and has to find a home. So really it's not getting a phone call, rushing out to show the house, learn about what that buyer wants. And the more you educate them about the market, the more they're going to be confident about that transaction and not want to back out if something goes wrong during the inspection.
Yeah, we want to be problem solvers, right? Like if someone's living in a place they don't like, or they get, notice that their lease is up, or, they were living with mom for a while and mom said no more. They have a need, and we're here to like help, fulfill the need and find them the home. But when you find that guy or gal who wants to buy a house for a deal, that can really hurt an agent, right? Somebody's like, hey, I got an investor. Good luck. They're on every street corner. Agents make the mistake sometimes to find these leads of folks that are saying, go out and find me, 80 cents on the dollar. Well, all they got to do is find people that are willing to pay market price that actually need a home to live in versus find some bottom feeder that wants to like rip somebody off. Like I try to tell my guys all the time, yes, investors are great, but if you're really providing somebody a home that they're going to live in and then raise their kids in, that's going to be repeat business for you. And I think that's a place that like I would like my agents to work more on, trying to provide like shelter for families. And that's, in the end of the day, when you hand keys out to somebody, it's like the best feeling ever. Like you're literally like saying like, here you go, I'm giving you something. You're going to come home to this place every day. It's like the joy of being a realtor.
Right. Absolutely.
So sellers, right? So you're an agent, you're walking into a listing appointment. The challenge of life, it's always like, they're going to get 2 or 3 valuations. They're going to like the highest one. The highest one is less likely to be the price it's going to sell. How do you guide or advise an agent to produce a valuation and do a presentation to a seller that shows them a number that is real, interesting word, that can actually sell for that number, but be high enough to make them want to sign at that moment and not wait to find another agent that wants to propose a price that looks better, but ultimately won't close for, and there'll be reductions later. Because you know what happens. You list for X and it's too high, 90 days you drop it. When people see the house drop, they miss the mark. And then if they go under contract and it cancels, that seems to be another flaw. Like pricing it right and finding the best offer the first time around seems to work for me and my group. Is it the same for you guys?
Absolutely. The more honest you are with a seller, I think is going to help you out in the long run, because if you're just trying to buy the listing and then hoping for a price reduction in 3 to 6 months, that's an awkward conversation. But if sellers appreciate true facts and information, if you tell them here's what the market's doing, you back up to a busy street, you have a small backyard, there's things you have to price it for the property based on the condition and the location and how it looks, because they're competing with new construction.
Yeah.
And this standing inventory that the builders have, they're giving huge rate buy downs, closing costs. So bring up the new construction, and it helps the seller realize that okay, I got to compete with the new construction. I better price it right.
Yeah, I play that game. Let's be buyers. Yeah, I'm going to be a buyer's agent. You're going to be a buyer. We got 400 grand. We're in this zip code. We want to buy a house. Would we buy this, or would we buy the one around the corner that looks pretty darn nice for $399? Like, why would we be $420? So I put on the buyer hat. If they can help if we can help them understand that perspective of what the buyer's options are and how we can be the best one, I think it's easier. So you said new construction. You think more folks gravitate to new homes because they're shiny? Like, what is it? Because they seem to be on the outer parts of town. The people are like getting used to living further away because new construction is like the outfill. It's always been a big part of the market, but I think it's bigger than ever because the builders have a way of producing a rate that a seller has a harder time offering a buy down to get it down to 5. These builders have, whether they're giving the buyer's money back in the form of a concession to get that rate down, but people walk in and go, yeah, I bought a new home at 4.99, and they love that. I don't see it going away. Do you?
I don't think so. Buyers are very rate sensitive and payment sensitive, and they want value. So yes, even though the home's on the outskirts of town, they're getting this rate that they're going to be comfortable with the payment, and that's hard to pass up. And it is shiny and new, so that's appealing to them.
Yeah, you tell your agents to make sure you have the new home conversation when you're doing a buyer consultation, because the worst thing you want to do is talk about this area, this school, and then they're going to Costco, and then they drive down and see the flags, and they hit 2-3 spots, and they call you back and go, hey, we found a house we like. Can you help us? And you're like, well, did you go in? And be like, yeah, we went in. And you're like, oh no. And that's an awkward conversation too. So you might as well just take them through on a Saturday or Sunday. Be like, hey, let's go look at some and sign them up, take them through 2 or 3. It can be informational based, little field trip, but in case they ever go to one, at least you have them registered and you got them covered.
That's a great game plan. Yeah. Because they may not even know what's out there for new construction. So show them a few and they may be surprised on what's out there.
So we've talked about it. The market is what it is, right? Some don't like it. I seem to feel like it's a market you can transact in. You think it's going to be like this for a while?
I do. I don't see it changing anytime soon. I mean, we're at 7,000 homes in Clark County that's on the market. That's probably going to keep going up. There could be some price reductions. It could stay the same, but there's a lot of people moving here. So there's business out there. I would plan on the market staying the way it is for 3 to 6 months at least.
Yeah. So your advice would be get used to these conditions. They could last the summer for sure, into the fall. We could have high rates for a while. We could have higher inventory for a while. Learn to work in the conditions that we have now.
Absolutely. And I think there will be some rate adjustments in the future. Just nobody has the crystal ball on when that's going to happen. But you got to just deal with the market we're in now. And I think it will be this way for throughout the...
What rate would you say would unlock the sellers to kind of retrade homes?
I mean, if you look at past months, when that rate gets below 6 and in the 5.5 range, you see the numbers tick up the next month. So it's obviously buyers are attracted to that number.
What's the sellers I'm thinking about? I know lots of buyers will come in when rates drop, right? Because the cost of shelter goes down. But think about all the sellers that might come to the market because they don't want to trade a 3% for a 7, right? But if they bought that house they didn't love with the 3 because it was a frenzy, now they have time to choose. Think about all the units that we would have to sell because you have basically 2 sales, right? You'd have somebody who has to list and sell their house and then buy one. So I think like 5.5 is the number that is going to like unlock a lot of inventory.
I agree. I think that's the sweet spot. That's going to, like you say, entice a seller to finally get rid of that home they've been holding on to that they may not like, but they have a great rate on, but they can deal with a 5.5% rate.
But between now and then, some sellers have to sell. Financial reasons, moving, all the things that make people want to sell. So stay in front of your contacts, make your connections with your sphere, make sure they know you're a realtor, and stay in the middle of the transaction, right?
Absolutely. Don't forget about your SOI because that's the most important part of your business.
I appreciate your insight, Bryan. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, George.
You got it, man.